for you. Why is it so important for women to have that safe space so in order to be in community? Why is that so important?
It's important because we need space to be able to think. Okay, think out and think outside of the box. You need the space to be able to feel comfortable that whatever you say stays in this room, and it doesn't have to all be negative. Okay, but you still want to be able to say, if I say something, I don't have to feel that I should have not said this out of my mouth. You want a space that you can grow. And you know this is happening because women come back month after month after month. And it makes me feel good and makes me proud to see growth in these women that have come maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago when they didn't have a vision, they didn't have an idea what they wanted to do. And now you see they turned it around. They got their own business. They got a staff. They're doing amazing, amazing things. That's what this is all about.
I want to double back to my previous question because I didn't. I feel like we just kind of rushed over it, and I don't want to do that.
Okay.
About the four pillars. Now, going on your website, I know you focus on domestic violence awareness, entrepreneurship, health and wellness, and education and mentoring. Can you speak briefly on each one of the four?
Yes, and that's why I wanted to give you a little bit more history of where we started at the beginning. And so, as I mentioned, we had so many women coming in, and it was about 2010 or 11. I said to myself, keep in mind, you have to begin to talk to yourself in a good way, right? And I went to bed one night, and I said, what more can we do to add value to women? And I began to realize I was listening to what they were saying because the conversation began to change. And women were talking about domestic violence. And women were talking about health and wellness because women were dealing with breast cancer and they were dealing with all kinds of physical ailments, illness that were impacting their lives. And so we noticed women were talking about, well, what about education? What about our babies? What can we do to save them? And then we always kept entrepreneurship in the mix of what we did. And so I woke up the next morning and I said, I got it. The 4 in our name stood for something. And I realized the 4 meant, after doing some research, it's balanced. 4 means balance. And so I took the 4 and I set up a committee for domestic violence. I set up a committee for health and wellness. I set up a committee for education and mentoring and set up a committee for entrepreneurship. And then I gave each officer a committee. So in my case, my committee is domestic violence. I took that because I have a serious concerns about domestic violence because I experienced it as a young person. And I'm always concerned about our babies, what our babies are dealing with living in that type of environment. So what we do on these individual committees, we talk about those issues. We go back and look in the community and see what is going on and how we can add value collectively. So, for example, domestic violence. It's that month of October that we focus on domestic violence. But domestic violence is every day. We have to talk about it every day. And so although we look at those 4 areas and these committees work amazing, I decided that I wanted to have an outside platform, which is what we now call 4 Sisters Live. And I've taken those 4 areas and moved it over to that platform. So that way we could have the community engaged and involved and have people who have the expertise to come onto our platform and talk about domestic violence, talk about health and wellness, talk about education and mentoring and entrepreneurship. So that's another one of our babies as well.
Wonderful. And you got ahead of me because I was just gonna ask you that, but it just shows you that we're just on the same wavelength. So I love it. when you